Capitalist. I'm your host, DJ Flores. I am so sorry we are absolutely way late, but we are going to try to cram pack as much as we can of our recap show from Tuesday. Just want to give a shout out again. Thank you so much, Patrick Michael Donohue, for joining us. Man, you are amazing.
Great
The
guest.
wealth.
What a guest. What info. That was awesome.
Right? It was insane. I mean, the info. I look sitting here looking at Cast Magic for y'all doing podcasts or anybody thinking of doing podcast. I'll put that code up there. But Cast Magic give you a little behind the scenes of how we kind of make this all come together and where we get the information. And so there's a lot of help that a lot of the big guys don't like to tell the little guys, but that's what we're here for. We're here to unveil all the secrets. We want you to be able to compete with the big guys in the end. So, Coach, any thoughts before we get this going? Because I really want to get into some of these quotes. We talked about money, we talked about so many things. It was
Yeah. We basically laid out a really good plan for someone that's thinking of what's that next move going to be. So I say we hit the theme and get right into it.
let's do it. Let's do it. Sorry, y'all. Still working from the phone today.
You get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece. Don't forget to dream and taste the colors in the air you breathe. It's your masterpiece. Go ahead and feel it all. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful.
All right, everybody, again, Robinhood Capitalists. We're here because we want you to find your heaven on earth through financial harmony. And I think our show this week with Patrick Michael Donohue is insane. Some of the stuff we went over about money and about why to get into franchising to begin with. And before we even get started and go in deeper, look, if you all want to find where I'm gonna pull some of these questions from that I'm gonna throw to Coach, it's Cast Magic. Cast Magic is an amazing product. Was introduced to it thankfully from Rena Friedman Watts. Shout out Rena. But and it's just so helpful if you're wanting to do something like this, even if you're not. And here's the thing: even if you're not doing a podcast, but you're just maybe you're a public speaker, or maybe you do a lot of training. Cast Magic's really amazing stuff. The AI technology and what it really gives you from the input that you give is next level. So shout out Cast Magic again. Use this code if you are interested in learning more. But and there's free trial, I think. But so Coach, some of these questions I got it. The first question is very blanket, so I'm not even going to go into that one. But the second one already was like, wow. So, and here, let me tell you guys, Cast Magic. I mean, it's using AI to really pull out the points that it believes that we should talk about. And this question was, what are some potential challenges and benefits of using assets like a 401k or home equity line to fund a business? And that was one thing that Patrick talked about. We talked about financing. A lot of people, though, their hold up why they're afraid to even take that next leap into starting their own business is they think, how am I going to do this? How do I afford this? Well, like Patrick shared, I mean, he was in corporate America for half his life. So he had money banked up like most of y'all probably do in 401ks and stuff like that. But like we talked about, if inflation is doing what it's doing, like your money is not doing what you think it's doing. And so it's the rich people, like he was trying to share. And Patrick, thank you so much for really bringing that out in the show about Warren Buffett and just about how to really use your wealth and not money. But and he just talked about moving it to places and moving it to a business and how you can transition that and the benefits and advantages of doing that with a 401k. Coach, And then here it says, how do these strategies compare to traditional financing? So you know more the franchise space. So somebody using a 401k or a home equity versus, so the equity there already built in something that the world tells us to do: buy a house, get a job, all those things. They have that equity now. What is the advantage of using that versus using a traditional form?
So the good news is that I don't have to give a generic answer here, because a generic answer may not fit everybody that's listening in their specific situation. It can really depend on the individual, the types of franchises they're interested in, the amount they need, how much they have in equity versus traditional financing, and there are always little idiosyncrasies that they might have going on. So, for example, when I was getting into Focal Point, um, I was also in the middle of a house renovation, and so there were some things that were tied up. It kind of adjusted my time frame on what I had available and what I could choose to do. In the end, choosing to self finance and take care of it myself was the way I went, just because of some outside factors that were just taking longer and beyond my control. So every situation is different, and using someone like Patrick, who has connections to, and he named a couple of the
He
folks that he
did,
works
yeah.
with, but having someone like that can give you the guidance. So not only the guidance to decide between the thousands of possible franchise opportunities that are out there, and to guide you to one that is really fit for you, but then taking that step further and saying, okay, well, let's look at your financial situation and how can I help you there, and then giving you that specific guidance that you need. And some of you that might be listening thinking, well, I don't really have anything saved
Okay.
up, I don't have anything at all. Don't feel like you're completely out of the game. Can still have the conversation. There are franchisors out there who are looking for partners. There are franchisees out there who are looking for partners. There may be opportunities that you just aren't aware of yet, and talking to someone like Patrick and can help you unlock those doors and see where they are. But from the financing side, the
Absolutely.
reason I'm a little hesitant to just say here's why you should do this versus that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
everybody's situation is
It's
so,
all different. Yeah.
and it doesn't take a long time. You can go through with these folks, and as long as you're doing your side, he said the process from start to finish with him is about 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Yeah.
That would include getting that type of information that would be very specific to whoever's listening. But my thing is, regardless of where you think you are today, even if you're very self-aware and you know your starting point, and it doesn't seem like it's where it needs to be, don't assume. Have the conversations, and if they lead somewhere, great. If not, then now you know, here's what I need to do over the next 6, 12, 18 months, whatever it is, to make this happen. And then you start that course. So have the conversations, and just make sure you know what's available for you.
Now, y'all, to show you how amazing Cast Magic is. So, Coach hasn't had gotten to peek at this versions of Cast Magic. That's why I'm throwing the questions to him. But you actually rolled right into literally. So, number three kind of went into ingrained beliefs of societal programming. This is the words that it used about money, which we'll get into that, but I don't want to go off the. I want to go back to where you're talking first. So it says, what role do franchise consultants play in the process of selecting and starting a franchise? You nailed it, and that's what finding. So again, just like there's not all contractors are bad. I was in the service, the home improvement space. Everybody says contractor, tries to put this plague on contractors, but they're subcontracting out their work. Not all contractors are bad, just like not all businesses are bad. Not all people are bad. You just got to know who's bad and who's not. But using the right franchise consultant, like Coach was just talking about, like Patrick, finding somebody like Patrick who's going to dive deep and really get into the nitty gritty like that. And so here's, Coach, if you want to just expand. So clearly you already went to the question, but it went with another question of how can someone ensure they are working with the right consultant for their needs?
Well, some of that is just going to be personal, personal feelings, personalities might clash or something like that. And so I think the big thing is just find someone that you feel comfortable with. Find someone who has a reputation of being above board. Like he mentioned, he's got 170 really solid recommendations
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. He's got people that he's placed. It's just do your due diligence the same way you are going to do if you choose to go franchising. You're going to do your due diligence on the franchisor. franchisor. You're going to call other franchisees that are in the system. You're going to ask them questions. You're going to do some searching on the franchisor to see what kind of things they might have in their past or in their present that could be a threat. And you're going to do your due diligence. Do the same thing here. Just do a little, just check in on them, talk to them, make sure you feel comfortable working with them. And I think you'll be just fine. Just do a short amount of due diligence. And if you get in that initial conversation and it just doesn't feel right, because a good consultant is not going to be somebody that's just going to push something on you or come right out with, I know exactly what you need. Because nobody knows exactly what you need but you. And so their job should be to get to know you enough that they can give you options that you then pursue. So if you feel that push, instead of them helping to pull you along from the next step to the next step, then maybe walk away. So a little due diligence and then just a little awareness and kind of pay attention to how they're dealing with you. And I think you'll be just fine.
Coach, I love that you said, and you're big on the due diligence, and you're a researcher like I am. I know. And sometimes you can overanalyze things, but I think to go even a little bit deeper for people so that they don't get stuck, because I think a lot of people just get stuck in the analyzing phase. But don't so the internet was great when we when all of this information that seemed very factual was out there so you can research. But I think now people rely too much on just doing research on the internet instead of talking to somebody. I think we're now at the time of life and humanity, or at least in technology wise, that I mean, let's just call it what it is. You don't know, and anybody could put anything on the internet. That's why even the most things like WikiLeaks or Wikipedia or whatever that people can even manage, change and really people thought was almost like a I don't know, like a dictionary for what was true. Now finding out later on that people could go on there and just change it to whatever they wanted to say, and even kind of bash people.
And depending on the system you're using to search, they're going to control the
They're
results
controlling,
you
yeah,
see or don't see.
yeah.
And so, but I think you're onto something. Just as a society in general, we've gotten away from the importance of just having meaningful conversations with people.
Yes.
We rely way too much, even in communication. We rely way too much on text messaging, and I know we've all done this. You get a text that just has just a handful of words, and immediately you read 14 different things into what they might be saying or not saying. And instead of just calling you and saying, DJ, what's up with this, man? Let's talk about it. We just sit there and worry over it and stew over it. And it's the same thing. We start looking and you see one thing on the internet about whoever it is you're about to work with, and you think, oh man, that's terrible.
Oh, no, yeah.
I should never have made this choice. When in reality, you don't even know what the real
you just don't know
is.
that. And again,
Pick up the phone and call,
talk to people. Yes, you just need to talk to them, because again, communication, y'all. It's, and this is one thing from and I did this math the other day, Coach. I don't think I've ever released this to public anywhere. My family, friends have been so embarrassed of me, I think, that I've been embarrassed of myself for the longest time until I realized it was an advantage. So shame on y'all. But I've worked for over 50 different companies, 50 plus companies in my life. I've went through trainings, worked for over 50 companies in sales, and I've managed and if you even just take the number that I talked to, only 3 people. So in-home sales, I only had 3 appointments, although a lot of that was retail and B2B. So talked to a lot more people in a day than 3. I've talked to over 30,000 people. In face-to-face mostly. Communication, why we mix communication by text is that's just written word. There's so much more to communication, body language, how they're looking, all of those things. That gives you more of an assurity of what's going on. Or a text and somebody looking at you pissed off. Now you know they're pissed off. Like you can see they're pissed off. Now you're not just reading it through a text. And that's what, Coach, I think you're really getting to. But that's what I think we're missing today is people just want to. there's so much of society now that just wants to stay away from people. Like they just have
Yeah.
a disdain for people
And that's
that
an easy way
they
out. It's a lot easier for me to send a Slack than it is for me to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, let's talk about this. We have a
yeah,
problem here."
yeah.
And so we're relying on it. And when we're doing research, we rely way too heavily on that as well. And I'm as guilty as anyone. I can
Oh,
be in a
absolutely.
retail store, and if there's something I'm thinking of buying, if I haven't done it beforehand, I'm going to get on there and look at the reviews before I buy,
See,
and
but
just
you're
to see
going to
what's out there.
reviews, and that's a big difference because reviews are somebody else's opinion. Now, are they skewed because maybe they didn't get the best deal from this company, or they know the owner and they hate them, or there could be lots of different perspectives or views behind the review, but at least it's a real person.
We
That's
think you
somebody.
don't you
Well,
don't we
yeah,
don't we
true.
don't
Yeah,
know that it's a real person.
exactly. It could be AI, and we're going to give you a little cheat about that here soon. A little plug about that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so back to the franchise consultant, the same way you do with the franchisor, just call a couple of those references that they have, and just get the lowdown on how they work with people. But I
yeah.
think if anybody goes back, if you didn't listen already, go back and listen to Tuesdays. I think you'll figure out that Patrick is one that pretty much anybody could work with and feel pretty good about it. He was a solid dude. That was good.
Absolutely. I love it. So let's go back to number three that we skipped over because I couldn't believe when I was reading the question. I'm like, hold on, I don't remember Patrick saying societal programming, but that's the word it used. But how do ingrained beliefs and societal programming about money often hold people back from exploring unique franchise opportunities?
So you remember back when we did the whiteboard with Dr. Fleet's Stickman, and we
Yep.
talked about our belief systems and how our subconscious develops over, early on in life, and so a lot of our beliefs around things like risk and money, a lot of those things are programmed into us before we're 6 or 7 years old, which we talked about,
Yep.
and most of what we do in the present day as adults is by autopilot. So 94, 95, depending on who you want to believe, percent of what we do every day is autopilot. It's the subconscious. And that's those belief systems that are built into us. And so some of those belief systems might be from a management and leadership standpoint, it might be things like if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself, right? We've heard that one. Money doesn't grow on trees, so we have this scarcity belief system that's built in because money doesn't grow on trees, and you better be careful if you do this or that or the other. And we have all these sorts of belief systems, and they hold us back. So another thing that led to when we were talking to Patrick was this idea of risk and what really is risk, and in a lot of ways, risk is just a myth for a lot of the things because we're basing it on a belief system that is flawed.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that built those belief systems into us and built kind of this scarcity idea that I've got to be real careful with this or that. They came to us from a really good place. They were there to protect us.
They're there to
Like,
protect you.
like
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
you, back to what you were talking about family earlier, when they're giving you some of that advice that may not be what you want to hear, and it may not even be the right advice. It's coming from a place of love. They're saying, you be careful, this business opportunity is risky, you got to
Yep.
be careful.
Yep.
And so if we want to overcome or handle those belief systems, what we have to do is say, okay, well, what do I really believe about money? What do I really believe about risk? What do I really believe about business? A lot of us are programmed to think that the only way to get successful in business is to do something that's illegal, and that business people are evil,
Yeah.
and the rich
The
are
rich are,
stealing
yeah,
from
they're
the
all
poor, and
screwing
all this kind of
everybody.
bull
Yeah.
crap that's out there in our society, and those are belief systems that if you're not careful, they come up and they become your reality. You become a victim and not the victor. And so a good part of how to overcome this one, DJ, is just with your own self-awareness, determine which of those belief systems just aren't serving you at all, and
Yep.
then let's start working on a program to change the mindset to become the victor instead of the victim, because I believe in a world of abundance. I know there's opportunity out there for everyone, and we just have to become self-aware of who am I, who do I want to become, and then let's chart a course to help you become that, and stop just the wandering generality you mentioned from Zig Ziglar, one of the
Zig
last calls
zig.
we had. We want to be a meaningful specific, not a wandering
Yes.
generality, but that takes great intention and great awareness of who we want to become and where we're headed.
I love that you went inward with that, Coach. Everybody, if you didn't catch that, I mean that's the key. That's the key to life is your mindset and your perspective, but then also figuring out you. So never wondering what everybody else is thinking, but and I have a picture. I haven't used it as a post yet, but it says read yourself. Always read yourself or something, and it's has this guy in a book, and it's just looking back at his brain or something, and that's what it is. Like always turn inward, question inward first. I promise you, most of the time that will help you either not have that maybe defense mechanism or something happen of what the other people's opinions or views are, but also will help you understand you. Because in the end, this game is about you. It's you versus you. Like there's nobody else that can help you beat you but you. There's people that are going to be around you that are going to help lift you up. Those are the people you want to have around you to support you. But the only way you win this game is you. And so
Yeah, you can have a
you
strong
got to
inner
turn
circle,
inward.
but at the end of the day, you're the one that has to act. Nobody can do the reps in the gym for you. You've got to put in the work.
Amen.
Um, yeah. So and back to that whole societal idea of what we're accepting or not. I think we have to be really careful. We're raising generations now with some pretty poor beliefs around money, around success, around what really matters. Because at the end of the day, if you're not living a life of purpose, you're not really going to lead a life of significance. And that's where we're going to have the mental health issues that you see, because
Yeah.
the focus is on so many external things, and not really understanding what
Well, in the end,
who am I?
in the end, coach, that's how these super rich people who have everything anybody else wants or thinks they need, all the money in the world, could still be upset, miserable, commit suicide, and do all these things.
Yeah,
How can you have everything that everybody else wants, all the cars, all the nice houses, all the stuff, and still not be happy? How, how guys?
yeah.
Easy,
Well, there's
because there's no purpose there. The
But
goal is not to.
my mentor, John Maxwell, he says there's a difference between success and significance, and so you can be success, but not really doing anything of purpose and significance if you're not careful. And so, when you say that this is an internal game, it is. I believe our inner circle of people that we put around us is vitally important for our success. But like I
Absolutely.
said, at the end of the day, you've got to put in the
Still
reps
you,
yourself.
yeah. Still you. You
Still,
get
still
still
you.
you. You versus you, y'all. It is. And oh man. And to go even a little bit, a quote that I heard seeing Matt Gray, founder of Herb, gave this quote. I steal it and use it all the time. So I have to give him a shout out for it because I just love it. But to go with what you said about success, his quote was the true measure of success is not how successful you are, but how many people thank you for their success. And that's really that would be. I mean, there's your meaning. That's how you get meaning, y'all. It's not chasing money to just have these things and sit somewhere, and that's the false idea, the false ideology that coach is talking about. That's that you want money to help other people. That should be your goal, to give you the financial security, the financial harmony that you need, and then how many people around you can you help? How many people can thank you at the end for their success?
Yeah.
That
One
that's the
one of
name of
my
this game.
one of my business partners, Nicole Ossenford, she has a good bookkeeping coaching service of her own right now, that she's doing really well at. But she's been a CEO of a public company and a lot of things. But she said, I remember, and I sent her this on LinkedIn the other day. I remember, like, it was 7 or 8 years ago. We were training together. We were going from city to city, and she would tell every group we went to. She goes, "When you learn that it's all about people, and you make it all about people other than you, then that's when true success is going to find you." And
Yep,
it was very true, and that's one
it's
thing
very
that she's
true.
lived and
That's the
proven.
secret in the end, really. I mean, that's kind of the secret of this whole
Well,
game of
well,
life.
we always go to Zig Ziglar. If you help enough other people get what they want, you can have pretty much anything in life that you would ever want. And I
Funny
think
how
that's
these
what,
successful, smart people, years and years and years, kind of say the same things. Dale Carnegie, how to influence and win friends. All these books, all these things. It's why? Why is it people? Why is everybody talking about people and relationships? Because they matter, y'all. You
Well,
can't.
let me take it back to something you said earlier about maybe spending too much time in your due diligence
Mm,
and possibly not making a decision to go forward. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, towards the end, he has these 30 typical causes of failure, and I think it was number 13 or 12 or something like that was about not being able to make a decision, and we really need, if you're going to work on a skill, decision making and the ability to make a decision maybe a little bit faster and act on something is a really important skill to work on. And back to our voices discussion that we had and disc discussions that we've had, not every behavior style, not every personality style from any of the assessments that we do is really adept and naturally gifted at just decision making. And so, in anything like this, when I say I want you to do your due diligence, absolutely, we could get lost in that if we're not careful. The due diligence has to have a time limit and it has to be done, and then you move on for the next step. And at any point along the way, if we make the decision, you manage the decision, make the decision, manage the decision. If you don't get the result you're looking for, that's wonderful because now I know something I didn't know before, and I go in a different direction the next time. But what we can't do is get lost in indecision. That's where we're going to
that's
die. And so
that's where you're
just
stuck. That's where you get stuck.
yeah,
That's where they get stuck.
and I would be willing to bet that the people listening to us, because I've done it, you've done it, we've all done it.
Oh, yeah.
But we have this idea, we start doing a little bit of research on it, and man, this is just too hard. There's too many options. I don't know where to go from here or there, and so we just give up.
Yeah.
And that's where having somebody like a Patrick to kind of help guide and keep us on the track and kind of keep us moving forward
One,
is
somebody like you
important.
having
Because
coaches.
if I'm left to my own devices, I'm probably going to just say, you know what, I'm going to go fishing.
I love it. I love it. We'll have to talk about that because we've been having some fun fishing in our backyard. Some of the questions that this gave, you're not going to believe it, Coach. So I'm sitting here because I just started reading them, and how does the validation phase? And I want to get to this question, but it actually, before we do that, number 6 was discuss the importance of mindset and the roles it plays in business. How crazy is that? We just talked about it. So number 5 was how does and again, I'm reading for anybody who jumped in now from Cast Magic. So Cast Magic, amazing product. I have a link that I shared beginning of the video. I'll share it again here shortly, but try it out. You get a free bonus of it. But again, like I said, for coaches, for you do public speaking, anything with audio, basically it just takes a file, you plug it in, AI breaks it down, creates questions from it, creates a lot of cool stuff. So, but this was one of the questions. So how does the validation phase, and I want to get to this because I think Patrick was very big on it. It could tell. I know you are, and I know I am. And it kind of again validates what we said about talking to other people and not just the internet. But how does the validation phase in the franchise process help potential franchisees better understand if a franchise is the right fit for them? What factors should be considered during this phase? I mean, it's probably one of the most crucial, right? Would you
Yeah.
say? Because you're talking to other franchisees already in the system, already doing it. That was one of, again, I gave my secret, uh, a shame, 50 plus companies I've worked for. But what I can tell you is that what they're talking about there is so true. You have to talk to other people. You have to find out for yourself. That's what I would do in every business that I worked for. I'd go right to the top person. Who's the top salesperson? Who's the top whatever? And I'm asking them everything and anything I possibly can. What are you doing? How often are you doing this? Where are you doing this? What are you emailing? Can you share anything that they can share? Because that's the way you learn. Find the best and learn.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and when you're talking to franchisors and you get along to the process where they're saying, okay, here's some franchisees to call. Obviously, they're not going to give you knuckleheads to call. They're going to give you people that are using the system, that have been successful using the system,
Proven, yeah.
and I think that's important. So I've had some people come to me and say, well, the validation process is flawed because you only get to talk to people who are doing good. Well, why wouldn't you want to talk to the people that are doing good? Because they'll tell you how they've used that system to become successful, and that's what I want to know. And just in full disclosure here, I do validation calls for Focal Point. I came on and had success pretty early, and so for prospective franchisees, a couple of times a week, I'll talk to folks, and a lot of the questions I get, and we're all human. So the number one feeling I get on every call, and I was the same way, is I'm not really sure what to ask, but let's kind of get into these things. But what a good franchisor will do is they'll kind of look at your background and then match you up with other franchisees who have a similar background that you can connect with and kind of learn from, and kind of just kind of see that, okay, I see a path forward, right? Because I can see how they did their path forward. But most of the questions I get are just about, how difficult was it to start up? What do I think of the system? Why did I choose this franchise over some other franchise options that were in the marketplace? Um, um, Interestingly enough, as important as we both believe mindset is, I get very few questions on mindset. And so generally at the very end, the question will be, well, what should I've asked you that I didn't ask you? And that's where I get my opening to get them with the mindset,
Yes,
and let them
good
know
for you,
that's
coach.
the key to everything. But most of the questions, and so when you're doing the due diligence, when you're doing your validation calls and that sort of thing, just really, really think about it. And questions like, how do I set up my office? Well, that's irrelevant.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's irrelevant. And how many filing cabinets do I need?
Yeah.
Who cares?
You're playing
What
with the
we need to say
business.
is, as a business owner, franchisee, part of this system, how can I be so successful that I don't have to do anything else for the rest of my life? So you're trying to get into what was it that you were able to do that made you successful, that I can tap into. So be careful getting into some of the weeds on your due diligence calls with things that are just procedural, because you can figure that out from a workbook. You don't need to talk to successful business leaders about it.
Or from the internet. If they want to talk to the bad franchisees, tell them to just look up the franchise information on the internet. They'll probably find bad reviews from bad franchisees who failed and bash the franchise because they didn't follow the system. But go to the next question, because again, cast magic, y'all. It's magic.
Hey, before we get too far away,
Yeah.
since Nicole Ossenford is in my awareness, this probably came to my to my awareness. At Liberty, we had at our peak when I was there, it was over 4,000 stores. So we were in Canada with a few hundred stores, and the United States with the rest. But our largest return producing franchisee was in Canada. And at one point, he and his wife made the trip to South Dakota to visit Nicole. And
Really?
and she was telling the story, and she says, and so we were going from, we were talking, sitting at the office, just talking about things, and he was asking questions. And I said, so are you ready to go out and look at some of the offices? He goes, I've seen a lot of offices through the years. I didn't come here to see offices. I came here to learn from you and how you think differently than me so that I can be more successful. And I thought that was one of the greatest insights I'd ever heard from all of the different visits and things that we did through the years.
But that's really what it is. I mean, that's when I was going to these top producers. I'm trying to find out, what are they think. Like, in the end, they're just doing things differently because they think differently. Like, you have habits because of the way you think. Like, your habits align with the way you think. And these successful people generally have different habits than us people complaining about with these successful people. And they just have different habits because of the way they think. So I love that you shared that. Yeah, that's what it all is in the end. It's why are they doing that? There's something they're doing that I'm just not thinking of, but you have to think like them. And that's why I love doing this show with you. I think if we could just help people change, or even just start to think, maybe we don't change their mindset completely, but just look backward and say, okay, hold on. They keep talking about mindset. How is my mindset? Do I have a growth mindset? Do I have a a limited mindset? Do I have a scarcity mindset? What mindset, what angle am I looking and living world, my life through now? If we could just help them even just stop to think that for a second.
Yeah,
I feel
so
like
every year I
there's
kind of go
value.
into the year with something I want to work on, and this was a while back. I heard Brian Tracy say that, we become what we think about most of the time, and things like that. And I was going through a study on Think and Grow Rich and some other things, and it came to my awareness that I was a pretty shallow thinker. Some of us think, some of us think we think, some of us would die if we thought we had to think too deeply, right? Oh, I don't want to do that. But I
Yeah.
kind of came to the awareness that I think I'm a shallow thinker, and I want to get better at this. And so I started going on this path of, I'm going to spend some part of my day intentionally thinking about things on a deeper level, that are more meaningful, that are intentional to me and who I'm trying to become. And it really made a world of difference, when you just adjust it just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, yeah. Literally, just a little bit will change everything. Like the furnace in your like the temperature in your house. If it starts to get too warm, you drop it 1 degree. You're like, what is 1 degree? And all of a sudden, your house feels good. Just think of it that way. Um, so another question: how do successful franchisees approach their businesses differently than those who may not find success? What key traits and strategies do they possess?
So my experience, and this will be somewhat anecdotal because I'm drawing from the people with whom I've worked through the years. But the successful franchisees, a lot of times they would be successful in whatever they chose to do, because it does come down a lot to mindset. And one of the keys to everything is persistence. They have a persistence, and they'll fail just like anyone else, but they don't let the failure define them. They'll get up and they'll move on, and they'll do something different and do something different. But some of the traits that you see in the really successful franchisees, they will go in, and nobody follows a system 100%. We all are human, and we have our flaws, and we'll look at the system and pick some things that we'll do, and some things, I don't know if I believe in that one or not. So we all have some of those traits, but the best ones will actually take the system and predominantly follow the system. So that is important. They're not out there recreating the wheel and things like this. You'd be shocked at how many franchisees I saw pay huge franchise fees plus royalties and everything else, and never once even tried the system.
Never do anything. Yes, it's the most amazing. My Facebook group, over 26,000 people in trucking logistics. I've talked to so many people that started, did the insurance, did everything to start a brokerage. They never even brokered a load. And I'm thinking, hold on, like, whoa, you went way too far ahead. Like, you got to figure this out. No, like, I've been paying all this stuff. I haven't moved the load yet. I've been doing this for a year. I'm like, oh, you gotta learn that first. Like, you went way too far ahead. Slow down. And that's why I think people, just it's a process. You can't cheat. You gotta follow the process, and it's really just finding the people who know the process. And that's easy. Who's successful? You can tell who's successful or who's
And
not.
you can go to a book like Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. It's like 50 or so. I forget the number.
Books, of course. Yeah, books
of things that make you successful. The ones that I've seen succeed exhibit a lot of those attributes. They don't blame others. They take responsibility. They understand that leadership means, while it may not be my fault, it is my responsibility, and they take that on. So a lot of things that we hear about what makes someone successful, they just exhibit more of that than the ones who don't. The ones that I see who fail are ones who they cast blame on others. They make excuses for why this won't work, or won't, this or that won't work. Yeah. So they blame, they excuse, they do all the things, and they pout, and they try to bring other people down with them. And so again, it's kind of, the winners have that victor mindset, and the ones who lose, they're the victims. They just run around life with the victim mindset, and everything is somebody else's fault. This is one example. I had someone come through one of the trainings I did, and we would get excited at trainings, and during Liberty's really big growth phase, pretty much at every training, we would have additional territories that were sold during the training or picked up during the training. And we had one that it didn't work out for, and it was one who didn't follow the system. All the things we talked about had and this is how deep the victim mindset went. The next time I saw that person, he blamed me. Because, and these were the exact words, because you told me and believed that I could do it.
No, and you should have put it back in him and said, well, my belief obviously was not enough, because you have to believe, because that's the way you get halfway there, my friend. But that's why I believe. If you don't believe, nobody can help you believe. That's why I think a in a certain way, and the whole idea of that, like, you can't fit, like, somebody has to come to you. Like, you can't, no matter how bad you berate, you belittle, you tell them how much they hurt you. Like, they have to want to fix themselves. They have to come to you and say, I need help.
Yeah,
And that's the first, and that's belief. And he clearly didn't believe. You believe more than he believed, is what that says.
I had much more belief than he did, but I had facts on my side. I had been doing that for years. I had seen people from every background, every financial situation, everything you could imagine. I had seen people come through and be very successful
Well, and
if they
I want to
did the
get
right
into
thing.
that a little bit deeper, because so one of the stories, and I didn't want to bring it up when Patrick was on, but he talked about, and you asked the great question of success stories, and I think we got to start doing that more, especially with people who help out clients like that. And he shared the story of Dennis, I think it was, with Budget Blinds. Sorry if I got the name wrong, but I know it's Budget Blinds. And it right away triggered something to me, and this is what I want everybody to really understand, because it is what you're saying about mindset, and just how you think of, like, even your example that you just said where the guy blamed you. It he said about the guy, it was a resale Budget Blinds, wasn't doing very well because the original owner was mostly golfing, which again, he probably, wasn't following the system or working it to the extent that, and to, the fairy tale that most people, oh, there's only one person who can do $1 million a year in a Budget Blind. That's only them. Nobody else can do it. Well, if one person can do it, you could do it too. How did they do it is the question. And are you willing to sacrifice as much as they did to get there? And but reason I wanted to go deep with this, I had a guy who wanted me, second largest franchisee for Roto-Rooter, one of the oldest franchise systems out there, 100-year old business, Roto-Rooter. They've been in business for over 100 years. Let me tell you, they do stuff archaic. They did corporate Roto-Rooter wouldn't hire me because of my beard. um, that's how old they are. They said people with beards are not trusted. So hopefully you all trust me. Um, but uh, corporate. This was a franchisee who came from corporate Roto-Rooter. Now he led a team, and I'll go back to Matt. He talked about this from Inspection Boys on the show about the type of players. And there's two types of teams. There's people who are team players, and then there's those that are great solos, but they're great solos. Like they're not supposed to be on a team. And but I think also the way people manage and lead teams is that way. And so he led a team of solo superstars, but it was done by fear and discipline. And so that's not my way. So we kind of parted. But the one thing I did learn during that experience, and because he had 12 plus locations, and he was slowly gobbling up, because Roto-Rooter, because of how old they are, there are no new franchises. They're already sold. So it's basically an old mom and pop who's been running it like a mom and pop, that then the son or daughter, or they don't have any kids, doesn't want to, they don't have anybody to pass it on to. So then Mark scoops it up, and sure enough, he had a location in Illinois. Two brothers ran it. The one brother, Gene Cheeseman, shout out Gene, but him and his brother ran it. They butted heads, unfortunately, because they had different views of how to run it. The most successful they ever ran it or did was $575,000 in 1 year. Mark's third year of having that. Now I think he's had it a few years more than that now, but his third year into having that same location that only did the most, 575,000, he did $8 million out of that same one location. What changed? It's still the same business. It's still the same everything. It was the mindset of Mark. It was the way he did things. It was thinking bigger, and not thinking not thinking only corporate Roto-Rooter can do this. Him thinking, I could do that too. If they're doing those numbers, I could do that too. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yep. So when I go into, and now I'm going into other franchise systems, and seeing some situations where there's a chance to buy out franchisees that are struggling. And
Yeah.
a lot of times the question is, well, you've got to go in and do a lot of research on what they were doing wrong. You really
Yeah. What
don't.
are they?
You don't, because it's pretty simple in a franchise system what they were most likely doing wrong. Their leadership wasn't where it needed to be.
Yeah.
Their people weren't trained and empowered to where they needed to be, and they weren't following the system. And once things start to turn sideways, what most people do is they start trying to save their way to profitability instead of grow, and so the marketing goes away. And if it's something where you have an amount of time where you need to be available to the public, then those times start to get smaller, and then it just snowballs.
Yeah.
And so, but it normally comes down to three things. It comes down to leadership, people, and are you following a system or not?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
and that's the three big things. And generally the answer is no. So just like that, typically a good leader can go into a situation like this. And I don't want to say it's easy, but turning around is probably simpler than what you might think. It's still
Yeah.
going to take effort. You're probably going to have to let some really nice people go because they just don't have the mindset that you need. You're going to have to make some very difficult decisions. But if you go in, lead, make the right decisions, it's almost like an overnight turnaround. And in
Yeah.
franchising, there's lots of ways to grow as a franchisee. We had Zoom and Grumman on, and that's a very fast growth brand right now, and it has
Yeah.
lots of opportunities across the United States. So in that kind of case, you might be looking to open a whole lot of new territories that are untapped.
Yep.
In an existing franchise, what you just mentioned there, what you're looking for, okay, if I can just get in the door, there are going to be franchisees that are aging out. There are going to be some with health issues. There are going to be some who have to move or life changes, whatever they are. There are going to be opportunities to buy out. And so you start to look, okay, how can I expand that way? So I've seen some franchisees grow through new territory expansion. I've seen a lot grow through absorbing territories that are either struggling or people just for life reasons have to get out. And both
Yeah.
are very legitimate strategies for growth. It just, again, you have to look inward and say, well, where am I good? Am I good at startups or turnarounds?
Yeah.
And then the other play is there are also opportunities for people who are looking to make their exit, because we talked about the importance of
Gotta have an
wealth
exit
building
plan. Yeah.
in a business. And so you can also have a play where you're buying out people who are ready to exit. And so in that case, you're paying a premium because you're
Yep.
getting cash flow, right? But
Yep.
maybe that's what you're good at, is you're good at getting the capital together to go in and buy very
Put
successful
together deals. Yeah.
operations out and grow from there. So there's multiple ways to grow within a franchise system. And again, you just have to know where am I strong? Where am I strongest at building a team around me to do this? And then start executing on the plan.
Yeah. Amen. The greatest thing about that story of the Illinois story with Roto-Rooter, Gene Cheeseman is still there. He still works. He was still working for Mark. So his brother got out, but he stayed and
Isn't that the
seen
same name of the guy who's on like Gold Rush, the TV show? He wasn't
maybe
there a Gene
he
Cheeseman
he
who
he
was
kind of looks like
running
him
the
too. I
dredge
don't know.
for a
Maybe
while?
there's something there. Maybe it's related because he actually did kind of look like him. That's funny you said that, and I love that show. Gold Rush. We'll have to talk about that. So some of the quotes. So guys, I want to give some of the quotes from Cast Magic and really just give you a little sneak peek on this last few minutes of the show of what's coming, what's to come. Some of the quotes, and there's just so many amazing ones. I'll probably share them throughout with the clips of Patrick. So Patrick, be on the lookout. But finding purpose. This was about finding purpose. So if I can give less time to what I'm doing financially and more time to my family and make a difference in my family and my community, I win. That's kind of how I look at it. That's my why. And that was Patrick on why he left corporate America to do what he does now with franchise. And he is a business owner in that sense. And he's killing it because he found his why, he's killing it. So some of the other things, prioritizing choices. This was Patrick as well. The reason why there's $10 is you've got to choose something that's all you got. And that was
Oh yeah, he had that $10 bill. You could choose it or not, but
that
you
was
can't
it.
split it.
That's all
Make a
you get.
choice.
And that's one of the most powerful things that I've kind of, I guess, taken from Matthew McConaughey's speech that I heard over and over and over again about the buckets that I shared in that episode in on Tuesday. Was Matthew McConaughey shared a lot in Green Lights, his book. Check out the book if you haven't. Amazing. But he shared about buckets and seeing life and living in seasons, your life in seasons, which anybody who plays sports, you know how to do that. And then it's just focusing on what you're focusing on. And once I started to do that and really like, okay, business is going great, the money's good, yeah, where everything at work's good, but my relationship at home is really sucking. I gotta change where I'm putting all of my $10. And oddly enough, Matthew McConaughey would use the number 10 too, and said you only have 10. You got to split. So if 5 is for money, remember your relationships, your home, your spiritual, whatever, something is lacking. You can only focus so much, and that's what this game really is. We can only give and be so intentional on so much at so. When we over expect ourselves, that's when we're doomed to fail. Like nothing is going to be perfect. Give up being perfect. Anybody who's out there right now and thinks you're on the mission of being perfect, give it up. It's never be. There's only one perfect person, and nobody will ever copy that. So once you know that you're going to have flaws and make mistakes. So just be able to give yourself grace faster and just keep learning. But that's really
one
what
of
it is.
one of the exercises I do with folks that I coach is our diamond mapping exercise. And so picture diamond, at the bottom is our health, to the left is our relationships and family, to the top is our wealth, and then on the right is our career. So if you just want to do a quick just review of yourself, a baseline, so to speak, then draw your diamond. And just from a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel like you are currently on health? Where do you feel like you are currently on the relationships you have in your life? Where do you feel like you are with wealth and your career? And then after that, where would I like to be in each of these areas? And we're not saying it's got to be the perfect diamond that everything's a 10, but where do you want it to be? What type of life are you really trying to create and live?
And also, I know I've shared this, I think, on other shows. I don't know if I've ever shared on our show, but this is, if you guys don't have some sort of planner, especially again, if you're trying to win this year, what I'll tell you, you're trying to win a race that we're getting at the end. Like your production, how we work, just like planting. You plant a seed, you're not going to go out the next day, and the it takes time. So get a planner, invest in a planner for next year. Don't worry about this year. Stick to your plan, do what you're doing. But this is Zig Ziglar's planner, and this planner has changed my life completely. But it literally goes through breaking down goals. The first part's a dream list. Goals. Here's that balance you were talking about, but a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's more like a wheel of life.
Yeah, the wheel of life. Exactly. Yeah, and so something like that will keep you on track. There's so many distractions, y'all, and this phone and TV and everything else just makes it even worse. It's just being intentional in the end. Don't get distracted. Typically, if you're struggling, if you're feeling stuck, I'm going to give you the best advice I could ever give, because I was one person. I made this mistake over and over and over again. I thought I had to add a new skill or technique that would help me beat me. And then when I realized, no, I just have to stop doing this shit. So it was okay. Figure out, and Grant Cardone says it. Shout out Grant, but he says, and I think he just shared this post the other day. Write down the top 3 things that are not that you do daily that are not benefiting you in any way, and stop doing them. Stop doing them right away. Cut them out of your routine. Cut them out of your program. Like if it is not moving that ball, moving you towards your goal in any way, get rid of it. That's the biggest key that was for me. What am I doing or wasting time on or focusing on that is just wasting? Like time is what we have. And that's last thing I'll get into. Patrick was big on that, 2-time cancer survivor. Obviously he knows. Shout out to Dan. Dan knows, and I'll tell you, the first guy I did a podcast with, Dan Deegan. You could tell it shook his world and changed his life, just like Patrick. And it's something. At a young age, one of the 50 jobs, I sold cemetery plots at a cemetery home, a funeral home, and I loved it. But I was a young kid, and back then I actually shaved, and so I really looked really young. I looked like a baby. And I could tell that these older people are like, why is this young kid talking to me about death? So I knew it didn't really work, although I loved it and I understood it because it's a hard topic that nobody wants to face, although it's the only thing we know that's happening. Every single one of us in this game of life, the end of the race, the end of the game that everybody's racing toward is death. Like that's the end of this race. There is no other end of this. So why do you want to race there? Focus in every moment that you get while you're here. And that's what Patrick was all about. And that's what we are trying to really just give you all is take advantage of every day that you get to wake up again and say, okay, well, the past 43 years, I really fucked up and made a lot of mistakes, but today that's it. And think of it that way. And every day, just give yourself grace and keep going. Because if you're waking up, you still got a reason.
Yeah, very stoic of you there, DJ. That's the stoic way. Memento mori. Just remember that we are going to die and live life knowing that that's going to happen. And so if you want to dig deeper into that, then you've got a lot of classics like Marcus Aurelius Meditations,
Yes.
and
I just started reading that. Oh my goodness.
yeah, yep. So one of my clients sent me a Memento Mori coin from Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday. A lot of good books from Ryan Holiday. The Obstacle is the Way, and a bunch of others from him. But this idea that time is our most precious currency is an absolute God's honest truth that we have to learn. No one is guaranteed tomorrow. Tomorrow is
Tomorrow's not
it's
guaranteed.
a question. We don't know.
No,
Um,
we us get, because I know there's no saber-toothed tigers or wildebeest that are going to come out of any corner in this room that I'm in right now. This moment I know is safe, but outside it, there's a billion other things going on. And that's what people need to realize, though. We don't even know if we get that moment except right this moment. And if you're in sales, if you're in anything dealing with people, if you can just focus that to this is the most important moment right now and nothing else really matters, you're going to win every time.
Yeah,
Even if you,
one of the John Maxwell books is Today Matters, and it's like we spend time dwelling on the past and worrying over things that are gone, and we spend a lot of time, which is important to visualize, but you can't live in the future because what's going to determine the future is what we do right now today, and we have to make the most of every moment, and we don't. So if you were to come to me and say, look, I've got this huge goal, this big dream, I'd like you to tell me if you think I'm on the right course. Well, the way I'm going to tell you if you're on the right course, DJ, is I'm going to say, well, let me see your bank statement and your date book, because where your time goes and your money goes, that's who you're
where your
becoming.
life's going.
That's who you're becoming. And so if the date book is empty, then I know you're a wandering generality. If the date book is all fun and games, then I know where we are. Are you intentionally? What is your intentional plan for growth to become that which you want to become? And if the answer is I don't have one, we got work to do. Let's go to work.
Yes. Then reach out to Coach. Reach out to
Yeah,
Coach,
call
y'all.
me.
Please, we'll give you a plan. I promise. Just reach out to us. We want to help any way we can. I want to end this with so I will. Next week we do have Ryan Arcarisi. I hope I'm not totally string up your name. I'm sorry, Ryan. But he has a podcast. He's also with Client Tether, which helps franchises. So if you're in a franchise system, you don't have a great CRM that really does everything you need, be sure and check this out. You won't want to miss it. And then he also has a podcast as well, Business Stories with Ryan. Check that out. We'll talk about that. And then the following week, we do have a special guest. I'm excited. Probably our first big partner. Got to run some things with Coach through, but really excited about this. Has a lot more to do with AI. I know I gave a shout out to Cast Magic. I'll throw that up there one more time, just so that we can get you all on there if you need it in any way. Again, please just check it out. Try it out for free. If you have an old video of you doing a talk or training, or it's even your company does a video training and you want to really see what AI is breaking down or see what it thinks is good or bad of that, use it. I mean, there's lots of ways that you can use this. So
And
use
if you're totally lost and I know I'm supposed to be doing social media content and LinkedIn content and all these different things,
use this.
It'll cut it up for you and tell you and create the post and all sorts of things with just minor tweaks. You'll have everything you need for a week's worth of or more of social media activity from just one speech or video or something that you upload. So it is magic.
Oh, it is magic, yes. And speaking of magic, we are going to take us out. So I think we're going to start to do this and use Cast Magic for their quotes. So one of the sections that they have in there is quotes. And I pulled a lot of quotes, and I shared a few from Patrick, but I wanted to leave this one for last. And I think we'll end the show with one of our guest quotes on Thursday from now on. But this one, man, this hits home for me. Again, I'm a big Gary Vee fan. I did go to college, but not for the right reasons. I did not finish college because, again, I realized it was not for the right reasons. And but so I'm not against college. Again, like I even talked about in the episode, there are still benefits for college for certain things. But telling everybody to just waste their time, and especially telling kids to waste their time and money and get stuck in a trap is not worth it. And so this was a quote straight from Patrick that I love. We're going to share this as a clip after, I promise. But the benefits of skipping, Coach, any last thoughts before I close with the quote?
No, man, take us out. I know where you're headed, and I like the direction.
All right, good. So the benefits of skipping. Thank you, Coach, for your time, obviously as well. The benefits of skipping college and starting your own business from Patrick Michael Donohue. Get ready, y'all. I want you to partner with somebody, and this is kids in college, thinking about college. Maybe you're in corporate America, you got your degree, and you're like Patrick, and you're like, this sucks. I want my why is different. I want 20 hours a week. I want more time with my family. This is how. I want you to partner with someone, learn a trade, work, build their business side by side, become his GM, and then get equity and buy him out. So you'll own a business by the time you're 30, 10 years from now. And you'll have equity at play. You'll have the income at play. You won't be holding to the man. I want you to control your destiny. I want you to bet on yourself. I want you all to bet on yourself.
Great.
Bet on yourself, please. We're counting on you. And Coach believes in you, and so do I.
Yes, I do. Bet on yourself.
Until next time, y'all. Be the good one.
See you guys.
I'm always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about getting paid. I'm just an